My organization, Earth Cause, we are the in-state environmental representative for the Pew Environment Group. And the Pew Environment Group is kind of a sub-family division of the Pew Charitable Trust. So I bring that up because that introduces the topic quite nicely. The Pew Charitable Trust organized a commission in 2009 on animal farm production. So the industrialized production of animal meat. Basically, where all of our meat comes from is these huge industrialized farms. CAFOs, confined animal feeding operations. I know some of you are eating, so I'll try not to go into detail, but basically what I'm going to be talking about is another concern when we talk about antibiotic resistance, and it's this concern is a source. So few of you probably know that the highest estimate of this fact is 70% of the antibiotics sold in the U.S., human antibiotics, 70% go straight to industrial animal farms. And, that sounds crazy, but these human antibiotics are fed in low doses to our feed animals, that's swine, that's poultry, beef cattle, to promote weight gain, but also, above all, to prevent bacterial infections. So this is preventative. This isn't even, it's called non-therapeutic. So they basically aren't even diagnosed. It's just prevention. It's flat out, before any infection comes out. And what it does is makes up for the really kind of cramped and unsanitary conditions, again, which I won't go into because people are eating, but basically a breeding ground for not only bacteria, but because there's this, omnipresence of antibiotics within that system, it is a huge breeding ground for antibiotic resistance. And I know that we might kind of get into more of the science of what antibiotic resistance is, but Mark has talked at length about it. It's a fascinating topic, but basically I'll be talking about this end of where resistance comes from, and it's from basically our food system. Once a bacteria gains resistance, it almost can contract it almost and then give it to other bacteria. That bacteria can then jump to workers and also remain on the meat until, consumers, we go home and wash our chicken and cook our chicken and maybe mishandle it or maybe not wash our hands well enough. So I think I covered everything. I'm sure I'll forget something. Oh, one thing I did want to mention is that as we talk about the medical sides of things, I think it's interesting to point out that another thing that I didn't know until I started working on this is that, hospitals are unfortunately, a very likely place that you contract a antibiotic-resistant infection, staph, strep throat, pneumonia, all kinds of bacterial infections. And that just happens just because that's where people are in for, being sick already, and then that's just where, these things are contracted. But only about 1% of our population is in or around hospitals at any given time, probably less. So that's a very high risk, but a very small amount of people. Whereas, the majority of us tonight or tomorrow morning are going to go home and eat meat that's developed from industrial animal production. So, the vast majority of people eat meat, are around meat, and prepare meat that could potentially have an antibiotic resistant bacteria on it. So very large, very small risk, but also very large population.